It's good vibes only, as the Reds and the Diamondbacks have mutual interest in bringing Eugenio Suárez home to the Queen City. We'll tell you exactly what it's going to take on today's Locked On Reds.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. My name is Jeff Carr. His name is Steve Offenbaker. We are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans that have been podcasting about this team for a combined 14 seasons. We're glad that you're alongside us here today. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team, your Cincinnati Reds, every single day, and the good vibes are immaculate today because we've got a very substantial report about mutual interest between the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Cincinnati Reds, possibly making a trade that involves a Eugenio Suárez, who by all accounts, from lots of people, is the most coveted player this trade deadline. We're going to tell you what it's going to take, why the Reds have what it takes, and how the roster is going to move around them, including why this rumor is so important. And I think it's important to see just why we know that this is substantial. And then later on, we'll talk about that amazing performance from Nick Lodolo and why he is looking like Ace 1B. But Steve, we're starting with a Eugenio Suárez because I mentioned this the other day. There's no reason why the Reds can't go for him. They have the prospect depth to go for this kind of a trade. And the Arizona Diamondbacks, by all reports, are looking for controllable pitching. The Reds have lots of that, and it's time for Nick Krall to make a move.
It is time for him to make a move. Listen, when we talked about this the other day, Jeff, where I landed with Gino is I would love to get Gino from an offensive production standpoint, from a protect Elly in the lineup standpoint, all of those things. What I said was I'd rather they went and got an outfielder just because we know what it looks like when you say, yo, random infielder, go out there and play outfield. We know what that looks like. We know what that's going to entail. I think Noelvi Marte can do it, and we'll get into a lot of that here in a little bit on the show. But when you look at Eugenio Suárez, you want somebody in this lineup that's going to go out and protect Elly De La Cruz. You want somebody that's going to go out and let Elly do damage and then follow him up by doing a lot of damage. It is Gino. In case you haven't been paying attention, Jeff, and I know you have, but I just want to talk briefly about what Gino is doing right now. Slash line of 252, 325, 593 in slugging right now, Jeff. He has got 36 home runs this season, 86 RBIs, which is the most in baseball. Basically, he's Tony Perez.
Right. He is. And that's exactly what we're looking for from a guy right behind Elly De La Cruz, because it seems as though Austin Hayes has fallen off a little bit. Austin Hayes can be a bit aggressive, and we've seen that where it's like if a pitcher understands that and a pitcher kind of pitches around Austin Hayes, he's still going to swing at it, and he's still going to try his best to put the ball in play. And I think part of that's the mandate. Part of that is you've got to be a threat to get a good hit behind Elly De La Cruz, because if you're not, it doesn't matter. They're going to walk Elly, and then they're just going to keep going right along through this lineup. You put Eugenio Suárez behind him, that is exactly what we're talking about when it's talking about making this lineup work, because now you don't have to worry about Hayes or Stevenson or Steer being a cleanup hitter, or Gavin Lux. Gavin Lux can be the on-base man that he is so good at being. He can be the good piece of hitting dude that we know him to be. Same with Spencer Steer, and Tyler Stevenson can just continue hitting line drives into the gap because you got your big bopper in the middle of the lineup. Because I forget the stat and I forget who sent it out, but like I saw this, like I think it's from 2018 till now. There's only two guys in Major League Baseball that have more home runs than Eugenio Suárez, and their names are Ohtani and Judge.
Yep.
Like those guys are pretty freaking good. So for Suárez to be in that same breath, that's what you're going for here. So I get it where people might be saying, okay, it seems like it's going to be kind of expensive. It's worth it. Go get them.
It's absolutely worth it. So let's talk about what it would cost, Jeff, because you're right. It is not going to be cheap. And, the Locked On Network is amazing because we've got people in every town. We've got people with connections. What we're hearing from the network, what we're hearing from sources through other Major League Baseball teams is the Diamondbacks are shopping for those controllable pitchers. And what do the Reds have? They have controllable pitchers. They have lots of controllable pitchers. So the question is, which ones are we willing to part with? I think that the conversation begins immediately with Chase Petty. And I by no means I'm ready to give up on Chase Petty. I think he's still going to figure it out and be a major leaguer. Everything about him says he's going to be a major leaguer. I think that the Reds just had to bring him up in a terrible circumstance a little bit earlier than they would have liked. And you saw what the results of that were. That doesn't diminish the fact that he's going to be a good one. I think the deal starts there. I think you got to throw in probably a mid-level prospect, lower down in the system anyway, Jeff, a pitch from further down. We're talking
Adam Servanowski, if somebody knows that name. He's a solid dude that's really been working his way up through the rankings when it comes to the Reds farm system, but he's probably included in this deal. I'm with you.
And then maybe you got to do a throw in. Maybe we're talking about like an Edwin Arroyo, a name, a talent, but a question mark. And for me, that's Edwin Arroyo right now because he hasn't shown me that he can hit. He's coming off the shoulder. So his value is diminished right now from where it would have been before the injury. So I think that's probably the foundation of a package. And then the question is, can they get together on if there's another name that has to be included? Is there another pitcher that they need? And I could see this. I could see this being a 3-pitcher plus an Arroyo deal. The question is, what do those 3 pitchers look like? Is it somebody that's on the injured list right now? It could be, as an additional throw
like
in. So
Aguiar or something,
like an Aguiar, or even a Williamson. I mean, as interesting as that sounds to me, because I love Brandon Williamson, the Reds have never been as high on him as you and I are. So it could be the kind of deal where you build this package to bring in the most prolific available hitter, and now we're talking, Jeff. Now we're excited,
and that's kind of the important part. And I don't know how many people get the chance to hear Ken Brew on 700 WLW on the weekends, or if he fills in for somebody. But he always has a saying, and I totally agree with him, that prospects are suspects until proven otherwise. And if you can turn a prospect into a Eugenio Suárez, you should. And I think that the Reds have really balked at that over the last few years, where and we heard in the offseason that Nick Kroll was calling people looking to make trades, but he was not getting the responses of, yes, this is the prospect we want from you. He was getting the response of, yes, this is the major leaguer we want from you. And that's why they did not make a deal this offseason. But now at the trade deadline, when you're talking about an expiring deal in Eugenio Suárez, you could conceivably make a prospect type deal. I don't think they would need to include a major leaguer in this, but if it did come down to a Williamson or an Aguiar, I think I'm still okay with it. As long as it's not, and it's not going to be, the Reds will not do this. They will not trade Chase Burns or Rhett Lauder. That's not going to happen. But Chase Petty, albeit it makes it seem as though we've been trying to pawn him off on anybody that would take him because he's the name that we keep saying in any one of these hypothetical trade scenarios. But that's not the case. He is a good prospect. It's just you got to give up something if you're going to get something. And Chase Petty would be the key part of this deal.
And he's the surplus. Let's be real when we talk about
the Reds' perspective.
He is a talent. He is going to be good. I firmly believe, but he's not as good as Rhett Lauder. He's not as good as Chase Burns. He's not as good as Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Andrew Abbott. He's the odd man out. And we talk about this when you're trying to trade, when you're trying to build and add to your team, you trade from your strength to address your weakness. And the strength is that pitcher, those pitching prospects. So this is exactly the right move. I'm pleasantly surprised that the Reds are linked to this, and they're linked to it in the way that they are, because you look around, and a lot of times we see national guys kind of talk about these deals, and we're like, that's not right. That's just for clicks. But this rumor is legit, Jeffrey. It is something to be believed. And coming up, we're going to tell you who said it and why we think it's very, very credible. We've got that next.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Day. Hugh, This hat that I'm wearing right here is Game Day Hue. It is an awesome hat, really comfortable because it's all about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile style that works on game day, works on the course, works anywhere. And I love this thing. It's so comfortable. It's very breathable, keeps you cool in the summertime. Plus, they've also got the Game Day Hue glove. This thing is really comfortable, going to be very easy to play well in this glove. You got to check out Game Day Hue today, because right now you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at gamedayhue.com. That's gamedayhue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals, so now's the time to load up. Let your colors talk, because colors speak louder than words. That's gamedayhue.com, code MLB15.
Make sure you're subscribed. That way you don't miss any of the great Reds content we've got coming your way. You get Jeff and I here on the mothership on the Locked On Reds podcast, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. You're going to get Tim Daniel after each and every Reds game on the Reds postcast. Plus, if there's breaking news like, oh, I don't know, that the Reds trade for Eugenio Suárez, that special episode is going to drop in your feed, and you're not going to miss it because you're subscribed. So click those buttons. We love talking Reds baseball, and we want to talk Reds baseball with you each and every day. All right, Jeff. Sometimes the national rumors bother me because it's very clear that the person posting them doesn't know much at all about what's going on in the local market. They're just trying to get some clicks. They're trying to drive some traffic, and they throw some stuff out there, and every once in a while they hope that it sticks. This is not one of those rumors. This is not one of those things that's gone that way. This comes from C. Trent Rosecrans, which is funny because you and I were talking just last week, like, is C. Trent still around? Is he covering? Is he
haven't heard from him in a while. Yeah.
Is he on the beat? We haven't heard from him in a minute, but this comes from C. Trent Rosecrans via The Athletic. And I want to remind everybody the last time C. Trent did something like this and talked about something like this, it was the Brady Singer, Jonathan India deal. He was on it much in the same way that he's on this one. And while the national people swooped in and immediately started to kind of try and poo-poo it a little bit and tamp it down, C. Trent was absolutely right. And I think this is the same lane. C. Trent knows what's going on. This is the same kind of thing. He's on it first. And I believe it when he says there's mutual interest. There's something cooking here, Jeff.
Yes. And when it comes to how he even put it out, he wrote an article. He didn't write a tweet. He didn't write a blue sky post or something like that, and he just put it out there for everybody to maybe see. He put this out there in The Athletic as an actual bona fide article, and it had a lot to it because he was saying mutual interest. I think that is a very key part of this. There's a lot of different indicators as to how substantial a rumor can be, and quite frankly, this hits all of the things because it's a local reporter that knows the beat. He's not going to be reporting some, it's C. Trent didn't hear the guy from Frybox who overheard the guy that pushes around all the beers that maybe talked to somebody in the front office that knows somebody. It's not that. Like, C. Trent's plugged in. He knows what he's talking about, and he's not going to put something out there that isn't relevant, which means this is crazy relevant. And the fact that he wrote this, I love this, but the mutual interest part is also a key piece of this, because how many times do you hear a rumor that says the Reds are in on so-and-so, or the Reds have interest in so-and-so? And it's just like, well, yeah, we all got interest in different things that we can't get, but mutual interest is a whole nother animal. And that for me is what got me so excited about this. I did a couple of short videos, whether it be on TikTok or here on the YouTube channel and things like that, just reacting to the rumor, because I think that this is substantial. If C. Trent is coming out with an article about this, I do not believe for a moment that this is I think it's dude, this might be imminent. We might be seeing this between now and the end of the week.
And it's also interesting to me that it's coming from the Red side of this deal. It's coming from C. Trent Rosecrans versus, somebody with the Diamondbacks. And here's why that's important. We'll see the teams that are trading the guy away, in this case, the Diamondbacks. We'll see them sometimes leak this kind of thing in a last-ditch effort to drive up the price of the player, right? To tell the other guys in the league, hey, we're close, so if you want Gino, you better act now. We'll see teams do things like that. This comes from the Red side of it, which tells me this is, C. Trent was
they're close.
privy to a conversation, and they're close. That's exactly where I'm going with that. That that this deal is being finalized, hammered out. I think when we heard from him on the India deal, it was like a 3-day swing, right? From the time we started hearing about it till the time the deal was actually done, somewhere in that neighborhood. So, time frame wise, that checks out.
I would love to see Suárez in a Reds uniform before the Dodgers get here, so that the Dodgers show up with their battered pitching staff and they got to figure out how to pitch to both Elly and Eugenio there in the middle, because you can't just stack righties against them, because then that means that Elly bats lefty, and then you got Eugenio batting righty, and then whoever is pitching from the left side has got now 2 guys that they got to worry about in the middle of this lineup, where it kind of feels like every so often you've got somebody else that steps up. But that's the great thing about this addition. And going back to the Suárez bit for just a moment of this, like, it feels like throughout different times of the year, guys are hot. It's been Elly all year long, and then other guys trickle in and out. Like, we've had a bit of Stevenson, we've had a bit of Marte, we've had a bit of Steer, we've had a bit of McClain, but it's never all been for a long period of time that you're like, okay, this is number 2 in the lineup. Eugenio has been hot for years and years and years. And how he is hitting this year, Steve, like going back to his performances right now, his OPS is over 900. That's better than anybody by a long shot on the Reds right now. So that's the kind of thing that we really need to see this Reds team at. So the fact that Trent's talking about this, and then to address the counterpoint for a minute, because quickly after Trent wrote this and it was kind of making its way around the interwebs, there was a counterpoint from MLB reporter Mark Feinsand where he said, yes, the Reds and Diamondbacks have had discussions, but that things are not close. So there were a lot of people that immediately jumped back off the bandwagon saying, okay, it ain't going to happen. But then Mark Feinsand followed up that report. And by the way, we talked about national reporters and their rumors and things like that. He followed up that tweet, again, a tweet, not an article, by tweeting out something else, that a key part of the Eugenio Suárez market, the New York Yankees, were heavily in on Ryan McMahon, third baseman from Colorado Rockies. Ryan McMahon would be the consolation prize if you don't land a Eugenio Suárez. So the fact that they're big in on him means that they don't think they're in on Suárez.
No, that's a tell. That they gave away a little too much information there is what happened. You're absolutely right. He is the consolation prize. And it gets me. The more I hear, the more I talk about this, the more exciting I get, Jeff. It would make me so happy for the Reds to take a swing like this. This is exactly the kind of swing we've been asking for. Really, it's the kind of move for that this team has not made. They have not made this kind of move in a long, long time, to go out and get a veteran bopper when the team needs a veteran bopper. And I'm trying, just from my recall banks, trying to think the last time they actually went out and did something big like that mattered. Maybe, but that was an off-season move, a trade deadline move. You know, you got to go all the way back to like Greg Vaughn? Stop it. You got to go all the way back to like Greg Vaughn or Kevin Mitchell in the 90s when you get another move like this.
Ron Gant, you got to go back that far to really think about it, because I'm not remembering anything in the 2000s or even 2010s, like maybe Ryan Ludwig, but even Ryan Ludwig was on the downslope of his career. He was not there. I don't think Eugenio is on the downslope. I think he's still in the middle of his prime, at least at the plate. And I think too, there's a bit of a theater, a bit of a poetry to this kind of a trade, because if the Reds acquire Eugenio, the contract year, this expiring part of his deal, is the end of the contract that they signed him to. So this is not a contract that the Mariners signed him to. This is not a contract that the Diamondbacks signed him to. This is the contract that they traded away. This was the whole bit. You remember the deal when they traded him and Jesse Winker, and they're getting rid of Eugenio Suárez's contract. Now they'd be welcoming it back, and they'd be glad to have it.
And I'd be glad to have him 100% for sure, Jeff. I can't tell you just the difference the lineup will make. You talk about the Dodgers coming to town and wanting to see Gino in the lineup behind Elly before that series starts. I agree with you, because I know what the Dodgers' plans for handling Elly is going to be if they don't, and that is walk him, put him on base.
We ain't even going to waste pitches on him. We're just going to walk.
Intentional walk. It's not going to be pretty. And Gino hitting behind Elly, just for funsies, last 5 games for Eugenio Suárez, Jeff, 5 home runs.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. And the fact that, I mean, the 86 RBIs, the fact that he's already gotten to that point, you put him behind Elly, he's easily going to break 110. He might break 120.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's going to be such a crazy thing to see. I really want to see this come to fruition. Like we said, coming from C. Trent, the things that he said about Singer in India and how quickly that moved about, I'm really hopeful that we see that again right here. And we'll be back with a live episode whenever that happens, because we're going to be celebrating and talking all about Gino and the good vibes he's going to be bringing back. But let's switch gears here for a second, because Nick Lodolo was amazing and looked exactly like Ace 1B, maybe even better than that, on Wednesday afternoon.
Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, your investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Do you ever look around at the end of the month and wonder, what did I spend all of my money on? Where did it all go? Well, Monarch Money will help you see exactly how you're spending your money, exactly where you're spending it, and how much you're spending on frivolous things sometimes, to help rein in your spending, to help you be in control of exactly what you're doing with your money. You can take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Just use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
If you can't watch us on YouTube, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcast app. We're on all of them out there. Go check us out today. And when you're done with today's episode, go look at Locked On MLB Game Night. It's over on the Locked On MLB feed. They watch every game every night so that you don't have to. All right, Steve, there was an amazing performance on the field on Wednesday, because I told you, like I said at the end of yesterday's episode, Nick Lodolo was not going to let him get swept. And he did exactly that, because he never came off the mound.
Listen, you and I both know that I took one for the team. And
Yes, I do.
And you know it, I know it. Anybody that listens to this show regularly knows I took one for the team, because somebody had to say they were going to get swept in order for them to not get swept. So I leaned into it. I leaned into that pitch, Jeff. And I am a hero, and you need to recognize that. But listen,
we're gonna get a statue built for you here.
That's right. When is my unveiling? That's what I need to know. Look, Nick Lodolo he did a job, and let me tell you a little bit about this job, Jeff. Outside of just the performance, 9 shutout innings, struck out 8 guys along the way, looked really, really good, looked really, really confident. That's what he should have done against the Washington Nationals. That's what's been lacking the rest of this crazy ass series that they just haven't been able to get done. But I want to talk about Nick Lodolo in a bigger picture for just a second, because with that start, he now leads the Reds in WAR, with at least with B WAR at 3.9. He's the top of the list. He's 0.1 better than Andrew Abbott right now. He is very quietly built on this season and continues to build and continues to build. And while it hasn't looked like we've wanted it to, that is really just the theme of this team. They do what they need to do. It just never looks like we really want it to look. And Nick Lodolo is falling right into that lane. He's been very, very good. You know, we talk about Andrew Abbott, and definitely he was an all-star. He was robbed. He should have been on it. And like I said, right now, he trails Lodolo in WAR. Lodolo, I think, is just very quietly reestablishing himself as a contender for the top of this rotation. And in the absence of Hunter Green, give me all of Lodolo and Abbott dueling it out for who is going to be the best pitcher on this team. I would love it if they went on a good old-fashioned chase of each other down the stretch, trying to outdo the other's last start. You get really good baseball when you got a couple guys in your rotation that are doing that. And we always thought it was going to be Green and Lodolo. With Green making starts right now at the Arizona complex, Nick Lodolo could really help drive this thing by just continuing to pitch that way. Because I know that when Andrew Abbott goes out there next, he's going to want to match that.
And taking the Lodolo of it all and adding it into this pitching staff, this is why you can't quit on the hopes of this team, because you got Lodolo and you got Abbott, and they're hopefully getting Green back here soon. You got those three guys in a playoff rotation. It's going to be hard to beat this team, man. I'm telling you what, like, I don't think people give them enough credit because they've been watching Lodolo and Green and Abbott for a couple of years now. And they're like, yeah, but I know where they came from. That's not who they are anymore. Like, Nick Lodolo, even through this year, has really struggled to find his curveball. He's really struggled to have his A stuff. But even with his B stuff, he has still been a very good pitcher. He's just not been the ace pitcher that we expect. That happened yesterday. His curveball, Steve, he threw it the most out of all of his pitches, and his curveball was barely touched. The average exit velocity on that thing was 80 on anybody that actually put it in play. And then on the other side of that, he got 41% swing and miss with that curveball. It's back. He's back. He is back at the top of this rotation, and every reason to believe in this team.
I'm convinced he changed his grip back. We saw when it happened, right? You and I were watching the game when it happened, and I'm like, he changed his grip.
He just switched to the really good lotion or something, and now he's able to do that.
So they have been using the skin barrier, which is approved by Major League Baseball. It's legal. They've been putting that on there. We saw it when we thought the blister was back, and he was picking at the actual skin barrier because it had rubbed off a little bit. So he is using that. I think he has gained a confidence in that's going to work. It's going to protect him. He can throw that curveball the way he wants to throw that curveball and not get the blister again. We're seeing Nick Lodolo throw his best baseball right now. And I think it has a lot to do with that grip. I'm convinced if you go back and look at his starts in May and June and watch the way he's pitching right now, you can tell. You can tell in the way that the curveball is breaking. He changed his grip back.
No, and it's paid dividends for him, but it also just adds on to the fact that the changeup has become a weapon for him, and he's got the two different types of fastballs that he can throw. He doesn't just have three, he has four pitches that he can use, and that is why you can see days like that where he has a complete game shutout. Don't look now, Steve, but the only starting pitcher on this big three that doesn't have a complete game shutout this year is Hunter Green. So he's got some work to do whenever he comes back, because Nick Lodolo and Andrew Abbott sitting up there ahead of him, just like, yo, hey, when you catching up here, dude? We miss you. We need to see you a little bit more. But I've been so happy with everything that he has done, because he and Abbott both have this demeanor on the mound of quiet confidence. You don't really see a whole lot of like, yeah, baby, let's go. And I think there's sometimes we want to see that out of pitchers, but that just shows you that there's not going to be a situation that rattles them. There's not going to be a situation where they're going to be like completely undone, where you see that happen with guys. And honestly, I think that's the big reason why Graham Ashcraft's in the bullpen right now, is because of his emotionalness. As much as we resonate with that as fans, I don't think that's a great quality in pitchers. And I think that Nick Lodolo and Andrew Abbott have that calm about them that allows them to pitch deep into ball games. I mean, Steve, the most impressive thing to me is, as much as we can break down the numbers and break down the box score and all this other stuff, the seventh inning, he threw 4 pitches and he got 3 outs. Like, that is something that Nick Lodolo has not done in his career on a consistent enough basis. He starts adding that in there. We can expect, I'm not going to say we can expect a complete game shutout every time he's on the mound, but we can expect really good performances every 5th day from Nick Lodolo.
All you can ask is for the Reds to run a guy out there that the opposing team is concerned about. And right now, with this starting rotation, there are a lot of guys that the opposing team is concerned about. And that is where we're going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Reds podcast. Thanks, as always, for making us your first listen each and every day. Make sure you check out Tim Daniel after the Reds game with the live Reds postcast. He's going to talk to you about what you just saw and how much fun it was watching it, we hope, watching the Reds win. For your next listen, go check out the Locked On MLB feed. Not only do you get our buddy Sully over there giving you baseball from a national perspective, but you also get MLB Game Night, where they are watching every single game with the experts of the Locked On Podcast Network so that you don't have to. They're going to tell you what is going on all throughout baseball. All of that on the Locked On MLB feed. Until next time, we're going to keep gathering up the news, the notes, the rumors, the reports, the information. We're going to bring it all right back here to keep you locked on Reds every single day.
Good vibes only.
Good vibes only.